Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Bharati Karunapatram Bharati Padabhushanam Bharati Padamarudam Bharati Tirthamashre Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvagyam Vidushekara Bharatim Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Shri Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Shubhodaya. Hello, good morning to everyone. I welcome you all. This is Nithin Sridhar, Chief Curator of Advaita Academy. A warm welcome to all of you to yet another session of Weekend Conversation. Today we have with us a very special guest, Shri Arun Vishwanathan, who is by profession, he's a Bachelor of Engineering B in Electronics Telecommunications, and currently he's practicing. He's a stock market trader and a budding social entrepreneur. And she told me that his name Arun is basically he was named after Sri Arunachaleshwarar, the main deity in the Annamalaiyar Temple in Tiruvannamalai. And he is a devotee, he is a practitioner of the path showed by the famous saint of Tiruvannamalai, Ramana Maharishi. And his approach to Advaita is practical experience. And I'll be asking him questions on this, on Vedanta, on his practical experiences, his experiences with Ramana Maharshi's teachings, and all those things in a while. A very warm welcome to you, Arun. Thank you for
Thank you, Nithin, for
coming on the show.
FNG for having me here and giving me an opportunity to put out my experience and share it with few people. But the disclaimer, I think I'll have to put it out first, is that if you're a Advaita purist who goes by references from the book, or who knows all the shlokas or Brahma Sutras, my conversation might be contradicting at times, given that I'm not a purist. I speak totally out of my experience, and I hope it helps people and they find this talk to be interesting.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is fair enough. I mean, we have all kinds of seekers, some who are shastric in approach, some who are experience based, and we all have our own life journeys. The very point of this weekend conversation is to share with people how, how different people, how many of us have a different trajectory to spirituality, different trajectory to Vedanta, and how it is still possible to do it. I mean, the first thing, when we first talked, when I messaged you, and I came to know that you are a stock market trader and a social entrepreneur. I know the first thing I that came to my mind, what this is as materialistic as it gets. And yet despite in being in the midst of the strong samsara and the materialistic pursuits, especially of stock trader, yet you are so much anchored in adhyatma, especially the practical Vedanta as taught by Ramana Maharshi. So I want to open with the opening question. Leading question should be, please share with our audience about your introduction to spiritual life, how it all began for you.
So firstly, I would try to clear the misconception that people usually have, that if you are spiritually inclined, then you should not have any materialistic desires, or you should not be, you should not be in a samsaric life, which itself is a wrong thing, because right now we have got a life experience wherein we have been given all these events in our life, and how we overcome them, or how we go through them, or how we enjoy them without feeling down, or without having the effect of that thought on ourselves, is very important. That's my understanding. My spiritual introduction comes from a very young age, wherein I'm born into a family which is very orthodox, and my dad is has been associated or has been associated with the teachings of Ramana Maharishi, and going to Tiruvannamalai from 1984. And I've been visiting the place when I was a very small child, and it used to be just like a picnic sort of thing for a 7-year-old or a 10-year-old kid. Apart from that, my spiritual introduction and my leanings towards spirituality was not much. It was more or less a ritualistic following until, say, the age of 17 or 18, wherein concepts of philosophy or enlightenment, which my dad and his friends used to speak in the hall, for all those things used to be like an armchair philosophers, who wouldn't have. For me, if you're a philosopher, you would have not, attained much in your materialistic life. That is why you're finding solace in spirituality. That is what my understanding was at that time. It's an easy way out. Given that you have a vacuum in one place, so you search for it to be filled in another. But it all changed in the coming years, wherein I realized how you use that to amplify the life experience that you have got. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to speak. I when we were having conversation yesterday, you spoke to me about how around a decade back you had kind of experience when and then you were kind of forced to visit the Tiruvannamalai, and there you had a life-changing experience.
True.
So please share with our readers more about this.
So I'll share a timeline of how the
Hmm.
transformation happened, and I think this timeline may be quite common for every millennial these days. A Hindu born in a urban cosmopolitan house, I think the experience would more or less be the same. So usually when you're born in an urban society, what happens is that you don't do your sadhanas or rituals with full heart. So it comes to a point wherein you're doing it, but at the same time you don't know how it is beneficial for you. And then comes a time wherein you drop doing all of them because of external influences. And then what happens is that you keep attaining victories just because the fact that you have been doing those sadhanas perfectly for, say, a duration of 5-6 years, but you don't attribute those victories because you have been doing that, or because those sadhanas has amplified your mental clarity and your ideation and your creativity. For you, once you start getting victories, you believe that it's your inborn talent which has given you. But again, you downplay the role of your personal nitya karmas and nitya kriyas that you have been doing from a very young age. What happens is that after you become a bit successful in whatever your pursuits are, the human tendencies happens is that you drop those one second, you drop those sadhanas, and then you go offline. And when that happens, when you go offline, the success that you had built upon slowly gradually starts reducing, given the grace on you. So if God has a lot of grace on you, you won't lose it at one go, but eventual deterioration starts happening in your mental capabilities and mental clarity. So similar thing happened with me, wherein I was at the peak of my personal goals, I would put it out. And then what happened is I slowly started neglecting my nitya karmas and nitya kriyas, or maybe it was how it was designed to me so that I reached the path where I am today. So then what happened was slowly the deterioration started in my own creativity. And then the things that were very easy for me at one time, it stopped being easy for me in about, say, a year or two. And that's when the pressure started building up, because you have a vision of yourself wherein you are the most successful in your lifetime. You have that perfect vision of yourself, and you keep comparing yourself with that, with the current trend or current situation that you're in. So if the answer is yes, I've improved, or I'm better than that, or my life situations or my life circle is better than that, you're happy. But if you're not, then you go into this whole loop of, oh, I've lost something, and then then that negativity starts coming in. For some people, the negativity sticks on, and for lucky souls, it just becomes a transforming experience wherein the curve doesn't fall, the curve, it plateaus and it takes up. So similar thing happened wherein things which were very easy for me started becoming very difficult, and my I would say my mental capabilities or my creativity came down, which put me in a loop of more negativity. Given that it was almost as if I have lost something, and then the whole thing sort of built up. Now I realize that there is something going on, which is fortunately the awareness for me at that time was this is a very transient thing. It's not you, which was an awareness. I believe that this could be because of my good deeds in my past birth. That is how I can attribute to this particular awareness, which says that, okay, you are going through a situation, but this is not you. Now, to get out of the situation, I started exploring different means. So one was, obviously, if you're in an urban society, spirituality wouldn't come to you by default. The first answer for you would be, okay, I have to visit a psychologist or go to a shrink or read more about psychoanalysis and stuff. So that's when I started reading about psychoanalysis and by Sigmund Freud. But the glitch that I found was our dharmic scriptures, what they talk about the self or the mind or the whole human being is that your self is Satchitanand. You are the perfect soul, and your mind is temporary. On the other hand, when you look at a psychologist theory, it says that perfect mind does not exist at all. For them, thoughts are real. Thoughts are permanent, which can't change. And I found this very contradicting, and I don't know, maybe me being not too much inclined into my education and studies, I felt, okay, this is not something I want to do. Let me try my philosophy and go the other way. That's when I started. I think the first book that I read on spirituality and philosophy was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, if I'm pronouncing his name right. So I remember the first page that he had mentioned that humans go through transforming experience when they have life-changing events. Now, the life-changing events can be of two polarities. One, either you have extremely happy events happening, wherein for you, you'll be like, okay, this is it. I can't experience more happiness about this. Then you attain that bliss. Or the other side, wherein you experience extremely negative things, wherein the whole construct and the idea of you breaks down and the new person in you starts forming. So, and it was very livid and it was very catchy for me. So I started reading it more. And then from then I started reading G.D. Krishnamurthy's book. And after that, I remember reading this book called Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahamsa Yogananda. So he talks about Kriya Yoga and other metaphysical activities, metaphysical techniques, which transforms you as a person. Yes. So he shared few. The book is brilliant. Like it gives you clarity on how you can use meditation and Kriya Yoga to transform yourself as a person. And I enrolled for the home lessons on it. I started doing the kriyas and the energizing activities, the energizing techniques, and the Om meditation and the Hamsa meditation. The Hamsa meditation is, it sort of detaches you from your breath. So you become a silent observer of your breath, which is, when you sit down for meditating, you sit down and then you're like observing your breath like a third person would observe your breath. So that gives you a space between you and the breath, wherein there's a vacuum created and you don't have thoughts in that particular space. Now it's brilliant when it is in theory, but such spiritual activities need the grace of Guru. So if you don't have the grace of Guru, who will like look upon you and correct if you're going wrong, what happens is that it puts you in a negative loop, or it amplifies what you already have.
Okay.
So what's there inside of your chitta? I believe chitta is mind, right? Like memory or mind. So what's already there in your mind, it will be amplified. So I would suggest if anyone is taking it up, he might take it up when he's in a very positive state, and at that time he can do it so that it amplifies it. But if you're in a negative or a not so good mindset, so what you have, it gets amplified. So the polarity becomes amplified in whatever state that you're in. So I think I tried that for religiously and very disciplined way. I tried that for about 5 to 6 months. The unfortunate thing was I couldn't see any improvement. Rather, I could see more deterioration happening just because of that particular practice. So what my father suggested was, you don't do it because you have not been initiated traditionally. Like there is an initiation wherein you go there, you sit down, and the guru approach you. They choose you as a student, and then they give you that tool. So maybe this is not for you. You have, different spiritual seekers have different spiritual temperaments, according to which you will get something that you always are bound to get. uh, yeah, so with that, I started, like, I suspended doing the practice, and then after that and then I wanted to have a break from the whole mundane experience that I was having. So in India, when you want to go on a spiritual trip, the first thing that comes to your mind is Himalayas. I think it has been marketed, or put in people's mind in such a way that you go there, you get everything that you want. So even I planned for the trip there, but unfortunate that time is when that Badrinath Kedarnath floods happened, and I could
Mhm.
not go there. So I had to shift my plan from the north to the south, which is I went to Tiruvannamalai. Now, little did I know what was in store for me, and I didn't equate Tiruvannamalai with Himalayas at that time, which is a very wrong thing which I had done at that time. I thought it's just a pilgrimage place. You go to a temple or you visit a samadhi, you go there, you pray, and you come back. But little did I know that the place has so much secrets and such enlightening experiences that people have had there, which was downplayed to me. So I went there, and usually Ramana Ashramam don't give 10 or 15 days of stay at one go. So this, I think, was in July 2014, 15, 13, somewhere at that time. I had applied for 15 days of stay. Fortunately, they had accepted it, and I started staying there. My whole regime was, I used to go do the Girivalam in the morning, wake up say up by 4 or 5, do Girivalam, which is like a 13-kilometer pradakshina around the hill. Not think of anything, or not expect anything. Just keep doing it, just because it was told to me that, okay, this place gives you a transforming experience. So now I keep doing that, and then I come back to the samadhi, I pray there, and then I read books from Ramana Maharishi, talks with Ramana Maharishi, or Jiddu Krishnamurthy's book. uh, and then I start reading it more, and then there is this one place on the hill, which is the Virupaksha cave. So I visit there, I spend time there, I meditate there, and then in the meditation hall, I start doing the Kriya Yoga, the Hamsa Kriya technique. Now, the reason I did that was, at that time, the only spiritual activity I knew was meditation, which was this. I didn't know about what Atma Vicharana was, or I didn't know the Advaitic principles of how you negate things, neti neti, or how you question things. Uh, then I started doing that. Then at one point in time, after reading the Who Am I, and practicing it for a bit, not for a like the dominant practice that was of Hamsa Kriya Yoga, and not the Atma Vichara. It was just a basic theory thing. So in few days, like fourth or fifth day, I started having this experience that the effect of thoughts on me started reducing. So to put it in context, I would say, if I before that experience, there used to be phases wherein if I had a negative thought or a positive thought, a corresponding emotion would be invoked in me. So if I'm feeling positive, if I'm having a positive thought, I would be very happy. If I'm having a negative thought, I would be very sad. Which was not even like, there was no space between it. It used to be very quick. So after that experience, I could see that the thoughts effects on me sort of reducing, and I could like see my thoughts run in front of me, which was a very detachment from the thoughts which were going on. And to put it in analogy, in a context, if you are looking at a business channel and you see the stock tickers running in the bottom of the screen, for a few brief moment, that's how the thoughts ran in front of me. Now, if I wanted to stop it, it stopped. If I wanted to change, it changed as well. Now, I don't know what this is called in the Shastras or in the books, or neither did I read about this experience anywhere, nor like I didn't read about it in any book as well. So I didn't know what it was. So I was just going with the flow, not thinking much of it, just being in the moment and experiencing and enjoying all of that. So this was the first time, and the second time, after a year, I went. I started. What happens that once you have some sort of experience, be it any spiritual enlightening or any experience that you have, what happens to you is that you start expecting the same thing. So the first year, what I did was I just did things without expecting anything in return, nor looking up for any memory or any experience. But the second time, I don't know, somehow I started doing things just so that I could have that particular experience again to me, which was a memory of a past event which had happened. But it backfired. I could not experience the same bliss for, say, 3 or 4 days. And there were a few people there who were meditating, who were like living, I think, staying there in the ashram. Few of them have written books. So I started speaking with them, asking, this is what happened last year. So what should I do? So there was this person called as Robert Adams who stays there. He has written books for Ramana Maharishi. So he mentioned that, listen, what you have got is something brilliant for your age. I think I was 22 or 21 at that time. So he said, what you have got is brilliant for your age. So what the only mistake that you're doing is you're expecting the same thing. So when you start expecting the same thing, you are actually pointing towards a thought which may or may not happen again. So what you do is you just keep doing it without you expecting anything. If it has to happen to you, it will keep happening. But don't run behind miracles or experiences. I took that advice to my heart, and then I dropped all that memory of those experiences whenever I started doing sadhana as well. So it so happens that every time I go there, I'm centered. I'm in the middle. I don't I'm very introverted. I don't go out, and my thoughts don't run out. My mind doesn't run out. There is no mind at some time. I think that's like a gift which is being given to me. And every time I go there, the effect stays on, and I come back home. It lasts for about a week or so, and then after that, gradually the samsara that I'm in kicks in, and then you keep running behind things after that.
Wonderful, Arun. That was a fantastic series of events. I'm sure our listeners enjoyed it as much as I did. So this takes me to my next question. What is the most important teaching of Ramana which has guided your life, inspired you, anchored you? I mean, yes, the experience, as you said, once you come back from there, it vanishes. The samsara kicks in.
Correct.
But what is this teaching that keeps you anchored? Though the experience may be vanishing, but your understanding, your life is kind of anchored to the teaching. So what are the important teachings from the Ramana that you think has been inspirational to you?
One thing which I have found to be very beautiful about Ramana Maharishi's teachings is that it's very simple, And one pattern that I found in the book was whenever people used to ask him, Bhagwan, I'm doing Nama Japa of Ram, is this the right way to do? So he would just say that surrender to it and keep doing it so that you will attain the self and then you will become enlightened. But if someone asks him saying, what is the simplest way to self-inquiry, or what is the simplest way to self-enlightenment or self-realization, he would say self-inquiry or Atma Vichara is the best way. So now you understand the starking difference between when he suggests what. So he's not, pushing things on your mind. He's letting you do what you are doing, and then he grooms you with his grace, and then you attain whatever you have to attain with your prarabdha and your past karmic gifts. The Atma Vicharana, which is the direct questioning or direct experience that leads to a direct experience, is I think the best teaching anyone can give in spirituality. I think there is nothing beyond that. It's a direct tool for you to inquire into who you are, how what you are and what you are not. It's a direct handbook wherein you can use it and maybe you can be centered and then get out of the whole samsara. The other brilliant teaching that sort of changed me as a person is that, again, one person asked him, I'm a grihastha, I'm working. So what should I do? Should I leave the world and go and live in a mountain like Himalaya and then give up the samsara? He said, even if you go there, it's not, you don't have to give up your samsara. You have to just give up your mind. Even if you go to a mountain, you would still have the mind. over there the thief would still come in and rob you of the peace. So why can't you do your duties and be centered in the self, which is actually brahmacharya? You being in your Brahman is your brahmacharya, I suppose, which has been mistaken to be just celibacy. But apart from that, there is, you have to be centered there. Whatever you are doing, you be 100% in the job and then come out of it and then be centered. Which has actually changed my perspective towards how spirituality and your life can mix up together, how your spiritual ideas or philosophical ideas or Advaitic ideas can amplify your mind, and help you achieve many things, attain goals, but without being entangled in them, attain money, but don't be greedy. You can attain billions of dollars, but if you have, who you are, you understand that those are just digits in your bank account, so you don't let them affect your ego or let them affect you as a person.
You mentioned twice about Ramana Maharishi's teaching about who am I, and I think he has written a short booklet as well, which has been published as Who Am I. I think this is one of the most fundamental teachings or radical teachings, some would say. So can you shed more light on this? Because I believe a lot of people have some confusions regarding this, have some misconceptions regarding this. From a practical perspective, from your own experiences, can you shed more light on the Ramana Maharishi's teachings of who am I?
Yeah. So basically, the concept starts with, I think all Advaitic concepts start with. Can you hear me proper, or is there any background noise?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So all Advaitic concepts, I think, start with the fact that you are not your mind or your body or your soul or your idea or your awareness. You are just awareness. I am that. So when you know that, but unfortunately, we haven't been given any practice to attain that. So what happens is, I'm just giving you a gist of what I've read through it. I may be wrong. You can always come and step in and change me if you find me to be wrong at times. The way you attain yourself is by not having thoughts, is by losing the mind, is by killing the mind, is how you be in the self or in the Atman. So now mind can be controlled by controlling the thoughts or controlling the breath. Now when you control the breath is what is meditation. You control your breath, you attain that bliss, but it goes off after say an hour or two. That whole experience of you not having any thoughts is lost within 30, 40, 50 minutes, or as per your sadhana, you lose it after an hour or whatever. So the point is that meditation gives you a very transient effect. Now, but what we experience, the self is the permanent thing, and how do we reach that is what Ramana Maharishi describes in his book. Which was narrated to his devotee who had written it down on the rocks, I think, and then they had turned it into a book. So, who am I is a thought. So, what Ramana Maharishi says is that you have an I thought, which is the first thought you get when you wake up. So that's when you feel centered and you don't have any other thought apart from that I thought. So usually when you get up, you would understand that you are very clear, you don't have any other thoughts, there is no worry or any other thing coming up after you have a deep sleep. So now that is the first thought which arises when you are in the awareness state. What who am I does is that it takes the awareness away from the object and gets you back to the center. So let's say I have a thought wherein I say I feel angry, and I start thinking I'm very angry, and then from there I go to another thought, and from there I jump onto another thought, and there are I'm just lost in that whole world of samsaras. So now how do I come back and introvert myself? So what you do is, whenever you have a thought, you question to yourself as to whom are these thoughts arising. So what happens is, from you having the thought which says I'm angry, wherein your focus is on the anger part, you ask yourself, there is a awareness coming above this which says to whom are these thoughts arising. So you take the awareness or the attention back to yourself, and then you ask the next question that comes up is who am I? So when you ask yourself, who am I? There comes a space. There comes a small space wherein there is no thought. So now what happens is that space is where you experience your I thought. So when you keep doing this on a regular basis, every time you get into a thought, every time your mind gives you a thought, your awareness takes you back to the center wherein you're with the I thought. Now what Ramana says is that the gradual increase of this practice of this strengthens your awareness, and every time your mind puts you a thought, your awareness takes you back to the center, and eventually, like the wood that burns the pyre also burns itself. When they light the pyre and then they throw the last wood itself, last wood as well, and during that fire is when the I thought also burns, and then you become the self, or you become enlightened, and you are there in the self forever. Now, how does this is my personal lesson that I've made of, is that how do you use this for materializing some desire or some karya that you want to do. Now we know that if you have a thought, you can manifest it into a material thing in this world, because thoughts push you towards action. Without thoughts, you become inactive. Yes. So given that you have certain goals, whenever you feel distracted from those goals, you can practice this, and when you have that space, you can put in a thought wherein of the goal that you want to achieve in the current situation. So if I am, say, disturbed and I'm not doing my work, I would sit down, I would ask, inquire, and then I would create a space for myself, and then I would take my idea that I want to pursue, and I would run behind that. I know that this is not what Advaita talks about, but this is one way of using the who am I technique to also create something in this world wherein you are in the activity, wherein you do fruitful activities of your of the things that come into your mind.
Wonderful. That's a very useful advice. And I have been very fascinated with this Who Am I? I read Ramana Maharishi's Who Am I a few years ago. I think it was some 7 to 8 years or 9 years back. And I was completely fascinated by it. And I had some Advaitic background even then. And this made a lot of sense, and this clarified a lot of confusions and doubts. So I suggest all the viewers of this session to read Ramana Maharishi's Who Am I, and as well as his conversations. I think the conversations that they have published, they are
Talks
wonderful.
With Ramana Maharishi.
Yes, Talks with Ramana Maharishi. They are wonderful
It's
book.
It's almost the day-to-day questioning and answering of devotees who have come there when he was in the physical form in ashrama, wherein people ask him questions and he replies to all of them.
Do you suggest any other books on Ramana Maharishi for that interested can?
For starters, I think you can get almost 99% of your questions answered by Talks with Ramana Maharishi. If you still want to read more about him and his ideas, you can read Guruvacha Kovai or Reminiscence with Ramana Maharishi. And basically, he has not written a book. He has answered, and people have archived those conversations into books there.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So, apart from Ramana Maharshi, who else, are there any other teachers who have had influence on your life, both spiritual and otherwise?
With spirituality, obviously, Paramahamsa Yogananda, Lahari Maheshya, Sri Sri Yukteswar, and Mahavatar Babaji, that Kriya Yoga thing has given me a lot of, put in a lot of ideas in my mind about how metaphysics work, how there is a different world apart from what we are doing, and how people are excelling things using certain tools, which is not, not available to the common people yet. I think both of these things are very contrasting if you compare with Advaita and what Ramana Maharishi says. But I think I've had a mix of these ideas which has helped me quite a bit.
You mentioned Jiddu Krishnamurti.
Jiddu Krishnamurti's Lost Freedom, wherein he speaks about I think again most of his books as well were talks which were converted into books, and he talks from a very atheist perspective. So I have Ramana Maharishi influencing me, and metaphysical Bhabaji and all of that lineage, plus an atheist like Jiddu Krishnamurti also giving me ideas. But I believe that the undercurrent given in the Ramanashramam or in Tiruvannamalai helps me choose the best of all these worlds, wherein the foundation is, I believe, Advaitic or Advaita Vedanta, which I may not be able to quote scriptures, but fortunately the experience is in such a way that I can see and not attach meanings with things. So if you read Jiddu Krishnamurti's books, he says nationalism is a scam. He says religion is a scam, and he speaks from a very nihilistic perspective. But he has some essence as well, which I think mature minds can take. So if you're like rooted in dharma and you're reading these atheists, you can actually take out things from them, but you don't let them influence you to the extent that dharmic teachers have influenced you.
Wonderful. So my next question is, I remember actually the way I discovered you, so to speak, in the sense was when you tweeted about the Saundarya Lari and you of Shankaracharya, and you
Correct.
mentioned some sadhana on Twitter. I think that was when I contacted you on Twitter.
Correct.
Can you tell our readers, share with our readers more about this sadhana on Saundarya Lari that you have been doing? What any advice and any experiences related to that?
See, I can't advise people, because when I get advices, I'm like always pissed at the person advising me. I can just share the idea what it is and how it has helped me and how beneficial it is. Rest is for the reader to have a look at it and take a jump in that ocean and enjoy the fruits of them as well. So I believe that for humanity, the biggest tool for granting all their wishes, material wishes, is Saundarya Lagari. Saundarya Lagari was written by Adi Shankara. It was written in Kashmir, if you know. So it's a Kundalini evoking sadhana, not by breath but by mantra japa. So what I used to do wherein I had a issue with my education was, again, the concentration thing sort of was a bit low. Creativity had come down. So that's when I had like religiously chanted Saundarya Lagari, because my Sri Vidya guru had suggested that why don't you take this up, given this has helped people out. So the sadhana was, I used to wake up at 4, 5, 6 in the morning for about 41 days, 41 to 48 days. I used to chant this mantra, a series of mantra. There are like three mantras that you chant, and then the Mula mantra, or the mantra that you're reading for the gifts, or the Karya Siddhi that you want. You chant that for about 108 times, and then you offer honey to the goddess. So we have a Kamakshi Vigraha at our house. So I used to wake up at 4:35, 6 during the Brahma Muhurta, and chant this regularly for about 48 days. So the method of that particular mantra chanting was, this was the third mantra, which was Avidyanam. It starts with Avidyanam. So Avidyanam, the one who really wants to excel in his Vidya or have knowledge of everything, can start or can do the sadhana of this third Saundarya Lagari mantra. So the way you do it, or it was suggested in the book, was that you visualize the goddess's feet in your mind, and then you keep chanting it, and then keep chanting the mantra for 108 times. You hold the picture of goddess's feet, the feet in your mind while you're chanting. So after 48 days, I could see a lot of changes, but these changes were not like, okay, I did this and then completely things changed. It was a gradual change, which sort of, wherein whenever I used to feel tired a few months back before doing the sadhana, wherein if I had read a book and if I could get, say, tired in about, say, 30 or 40 minutes, this sort of improved my mental stamina for, say, about an hour or two or even 3 hours, which was a slow gradual increase over the period of 48 days. So not only for education, the Saundarya Lagari Shloka also offers for wealth, or for your positions or influence. It's basically a tantric set of shlokas, which makes you a receptor of all the boons that you always wanted for. But again, if you're doing it, do it in the Brahma Muhurta. Please maintain good sattvic food habits, because what happens is that if you consume non-vegetarian or not vegetarian food and other tamasic food, the effect comes down, and it doesn't give you any gifts as it can give you the potential that it has. So you get basically zero or hardly one or two levels of gifts, wherein you could have attained 100 levels of gifts.
Wonderful, wonderful. I had seen one book a while back that wherein each shloka of the Saundarya Lahari can be converted into a mantra sadhana for a different kind of siddhi.
Correct.
And I had found it a very fascinating thing. I think Saundarya Lahari, Lalita Sahasranama, these are all very, and Chandipat, Durga Saptashati,
Correct.
these are all very powerful texts. We can attain bhukti and mukti both, as they say.
So yeah, so which comes to your first question as to, oh, you are rooted in, you are in materialistic, but you are also rooted here. Even Adi Shankara has actually prescribed that, if you see in Saundarya Lahari. So he's giving you mantras to attain material gifts as well. So he understands what is needed for a grahastha and how he can, gradually grow from there and run behind spirituality. Only when your stomach is filled, you can be completely engrossed in spirituality.
Wonderful. I have final two questions. And viewers, if you have any questions, please put it in Q&A box. I will take it after these two questions. Two quick questions, Arun. What is your advice on one is managing it starts with the original question that I said, but now I want your advice to people, to viewers, how they can manage both material life and spiritual life. Any quick tips, any bits on this part? And second is on practical Advaita, any suggestions that people can adopt to practice in a Advaita tenets in a more practical manner, more sadhana perspective, or more awareness, how to develop more awareness in their day-to-day life. So quick answers on this.
I think firstly, everyone should start off with this thought that happiness is my true state. Anything apart from that is just transient. And that is what Ramana Maharishi says. Happiness is your true state, and it is not wrong for you to desire it. So if you know that you're Satchitanand, so you know that anything other than that state is not you. So you would obviously start rejecting the other states. So if you feel depressed, or if you're sad, or if you're tired, you would understand that, okay, this is a very transient state. I would anyway step out of it, and I would come out of this quickly, and I would be in the center. So now the mix of materialism and spirituality comes in, wherein you are more, the percentage of you being spiritual is more than material. I think for the start, say at least until say 40, 45 years, wherein you are running behind different goals to satisfy your career or your personal or your financial goals, is when you completely lose track of what spirituality is, or what those dharmic ideas are, or how you can think of mukti or moksha. So what I have done, or I am doing at the moment, is that my goals are there. There are physical, financial, spiritual goals for me, but there is always an undercurrent of this questioning, of this awareness, which is, who am I? To whom are these thoughts arising? So my sadhana at the moment is a mix of Saundarya Lahari, your Nitya Karma, Gayatri Japa, who am I questioning, your yoga, Hatha Yoga, wherein I sometimes do the headstands, and I think headstand, Sarvangasana and Paschimottanasana, these three are most important for you to maintain your physical well-being, and the usual fitness as well. Coming back to the question that you have asked, is I believe that if you have a mix of all this, wherein you are just having one thought when you're doing something. So if you take up an idea, when you're there, just be 100% involved in that particular thought. And when you're out of that particular activity, completely come out of it. And then just be in the center, in the self, practice all of these sadhanas, do the who am I technique as well, which builds your awareness and which gives you the wisdom to not fall into the trap of feeling or thinking about the experiences that you had, or thinking about the negativities that you couldn't achieve. Mukti, people believe, Mukti or Moksha that people believe is an afterlife effect. It is not an afterlife effect. So as far as I understand, it's a Mukti from the Mukti or liberation is the freedom of thoughts. So when you stop having thoughts, because Advaita says that anything apart from the present, the future and the past is all Maya, is not real. So only this present moment is what you have. So if you are 100% into the thought, and when you're out of it, you're completely out of it, which helps you build your awareness and which helps you from not having the inner conflicts that you usually have.
Wonderful, Arun. I think we are almost close to today's session. We have one question. Please tell us about self-motivation to go towards spiritual path. Many distractions are there in my mind.
Uh, there used to be similar questions in asked to Ramana Maharishi, and I would just give you a context or a gist of it. Those distractions are nothing but your thoughts, which stop you from going where you want to go. So if you don't give power to those thoughts, so whenever any distraction comes in, if you keep inquiring as to whom are these thoughts arising, you get out of the distraction and you get introverted. And when you get introverted, the effect or the power of that distraction on you sort of reduces. So it might not go away quickly at the one go. Let's say you keep doing it gradually over a period of 30 days, 1 month, 2 months, and slowly it builds on. The effect of that distraction on you comes down, and there will be a day wherein the seeds of that thought goes away, wherein you will stop having that distracting thought. You're having a thought because some seed was sown in your memory, in your mind. That is how you're having the thought. And once that seed sort of goes off, once the root sort of that particular thought goes away, that thought completely vanishes from your chitta, and it stops coming back, and it stops coming back in your mind. So that is how you slowly get out of thoughts, slowly kill thoughts. So it's not wrong to be distracted. It is correct, but whenever don't think of it in a manner that, okay, I'm distracted, so there is some mistake in me, or there is I've sinned, that's why I'm having all of these things, or I don't have the anugraha, or I don't have the gifts or the boons that other people have. It's just a start. So when you're feeling distracted, get out of the distraction, question yourself, to whom are these thoughts arising. So what happens is you come out of the distraction, you're centered, and then you can go on, keep doing your spiritual activity. Maybe again the distraction pops up, you again question yourself. Whenever you have thoughts which are not good for you, or if you want to lose all thoughts also, you can keep doing atma vicharana. Supplement it with your other sadhanas, mantra sadhanas that you're doing. Take up a japa practice, which sort of kills your mind, makes your mind stronger. Complete, and then obviously when you read books about of different gurus, their grace also comes into play. So a mixture of all this would definitely help out, because self-motivation, I believe motivation is a very transient thing. You are motivated, that's it, that itself is a thought which pushes you towards something. Again, this is a very natural state which you already have. It's just that these thoughts are stopping you from being that. So the only way to change that is directly questioning them and killing the distraction that you have.
Wonderful.
I hope it's been answered, and I hope it was useful for the attendee for the panelists who had asked this.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be useful, Arun. With this, we come to a conclusion of yet another weekend conversations. Arun, it was a wonderful conversation, and I personally enjoyed it a lot. I'm sure our viewers have found it very enlightening and useful. Thank you for
Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Frankly, I didn't think that I could last for an hour. Like I could speak for an hour. That was my initial a bit dilemma, because I didn't know that I had a story to tell which would last even for an hour. I thought we would be just sitting, and I would be tied of words, tongue tied for about after 30 minutes. I thought you would be the person who would be doing most of the talking.
I know, as I told you yesterday, not to worry. 1 hour we will easily cover. Okay.
It was a pleasure being here. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you again for coming on our show, and we will stay in touch.
Surely. I
And
hope
of course,
the conversation was useful and added value to all the listeners who are there, who took time out of an hour on a Saturday morning, wherein they could have actually gone out and chilled and did some other things. They gave an hour, and I could see that people have taken up questioning. Sorry, people have asked questions which I've answered as well. I hope this added value to everyone who was present here.
I'm sure it has done added value, and I personally enjoyed the conversations. Personally, found it very useful. And viewers, don't forget to log in tomorrow. We have a talk on Bhagavad Gita by L. Ramaswamiji. We are doing that session in collaboration with Vedanta Institute, Kolkata. Same time, 10 a.m. Join us tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.